Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Basel Pod. I'm Sam Basel, joined alongside Road to the Garden contributor, House of College Hoops extraordinaire, and ECB and Road to the Garden podcast co-host Michael DeRosa. Michael, how you doing tonight?
That's a long title. I'm the man, aren't I? No, I'm
You
doing
wear
well.
many hats.
Yeah.
But we're a month into the season, the 2025-26 college basketball season. So I just wanted to take some time, talk to you, get a feel for where we are in the current college basketball landscape, and see where we have to go for December and onwards before conference play really kicks into gear around the country. So, Michael, just wanted to start off. I kind of want to hit you with some rapid fire questions.
Oh,
We didn't really discuss this in our planning, but I wanted to see what I can get off the dome here. First up, I listened to the most recent Road to the Garden pod today. It was from before Feast Week.
Yep.
I know you guys were talking about potentially the Big East being a 2-bid league, but right now, after their performances in Thanksgiving and the first week of December, how many bids do you feel like are going to come out of the Big East come March?
That's not great. 4 would be optimistic, so I'm going to say 4.
4? All right.
Yeah, it's optimistic at this point, so that tells you a lot, but we'll go with 4.
It's been tough.
Yeah.
Team, Big East or otherwise, that has really surprised you going forward this season?
Oh, this is a good one. I was impressed by Clemson, and they looked pretty good against Alabama, especially in the second half. Miami looks really good right now. That's another team that's up there for me. There's definitely someone else that I'm forgetting that oh my God, Michigan State. Michigan State's my number one. I could see Vanderbilt, and Michigan State are the two that have really surprised me. But Michigan State for me, I thought they would be pretty bad this year, and they look excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. And then based on the announcement from John Rothstein today, will you be buying a ticket to the Royal Palm Invitational in November of 2026?
I will take any if offered. I will attend to Turkey El Sheikh and others. I'm a big fan of your work. And I will take the paycheck.
Okay.
And attend and cover your event with honor and journalistic integrity. For that is what we do here at House Enterprise.
Yes. All right. That's great. All right, let's get into it. I know it's already been a week since a lot of the Thanksgiving/Feast Week activities have come to an end, but the real big story out of that week, aside from Michigan's big win over Gonzaga to win the Players Era Festival, is the status of the Players Era Festival. I feel like 1 to 2 days into the tournament this year, it was an 18-team field with confirmation that we're expanding into 32 teams next season. It feels like people are already a little skeptical of this tournament. People don't love the format. People don't love the fact that it's in Vegas. There's just something about it that does not have the same feel as, say, a Maui Invitational, a Battle for Atlantis, a Charleston Classic. So for you, Mike, I mean, in year 2 of the Players Era, how did you feel coming out of this tournament?
This event has zero juice. It sucks. It has zero, just objectively speaking, it has zero juice. Point differential is not an effective way to rank these teams because essentially your champion is determined by whoever the fuck played Rutgers, broadly speaking. Because the gap between them and then some of the other teams, like Maryland was super injured, so Gonzaga being able to beat the piss out of Maryland really helped them. But like you are almost encouraging less exciting games and making those the more important games, and that's a problem. Versus Iowa State St. John's was awesome.
Yeah,
but Iowa State didn't get to play for the Players Era title after winning that game. That event has no juice. This isn't soccer. It doesn't work. In soccer, it does because it's so low scoring, right? It's part of it, It's scoring a goal means something. Scoring a bucket in basketball, it's all right, now get back on defense. I got to stop and then score another one, and then we can actually start to get excited, It just doesn't work. It being in Vegas where nobody's going just makes it worse. If they want to make it more exciting, get that fucking guy that was the plant at the Crown. Get him in there. Yeah, that double your attendance. What the shit? It just was so dead, and it sucks because, Maui, it made Maui worse. It made Atlantis worse. It made everything worse because this event had no fucking juice to it, Sam. You can't have a 32-team tournament at this point in the season. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Just get like the odd settings, get the fun, get the ballrooms back. Bring back ballrooms, Sam. And I never thought I'd say that. Bring back ballrooms.
No, I totally agree. It's so funny because I've been racking my brain around trying to figure out what has not made this tournament work, because I watched a lot of the games in the Players Era Festival. I watched both the St. John's games. I watched Michigan versus Gonzaga. I watched a really excellent game versus Syracuse and Houston that went to overtime.
Yep.
We're going to be talking about Syracuse in a little bit. When it comes to the SEC ACC challenge, but it's really not about the games. It's not about the on-court product, which I think is what makes this problem so unique. It's just the overall presentation of it just has not worked for college basketball fans, and it will continue not to work.
I even think the TNT broadcast is like pretty good. Like, all things considered, I think they've done very good with college basketball this year. That there's a chance that take ages horribly, but I've been like, anytime I've watched a TNT broadcast, I think the broadcast itself has been very good. It's just the event has no ambiance to it. There's no spectacle, and that's kind of the spectacle is kind of what you're selling at this point in the college basketball season. You're never watching a game in Atlantis, Maui, wherever for the rest of the season. You're selling the spectacle, and this just had no fucking juice to it. There was no juice. There was no soul behind it, Sam. And that's what this sport is. This sport is carried on soul.
And I think it's perfectly encapsulated when you say bring back the ballrooms. Because we'll start off with the first problem. It's the venue. This game was played in the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Paradise, Nevada. Obviously, a pretty big venue. It's seen, boxing matches, UFC fights. It's seen plenty of great Las Vegas-based spectacle events. But the problem is, when it comes to college basketball during Thanksgiving, the idea is these guys are going far away because everyone's at home. Everyone wants to watch these games on TV. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there are some sickos that will go all the way to Maui, that will go all the way to the Bahamas. Even for the best teams, even for like a Duke or a Kansas, that's still not that many people. Everyone is going to be home watching these games on TV. So when you can corral all those fans that do want to travel and you can put them in a small venue like in Chaminade, like Atlantis Marine World, then that's how you have a tight, packed crowd, which I think is the perfect showcase for college basketball, because that's what these tournaments are about, right? It's about showcasing the excitement and the passion of that game, and how far fans will go to watch their team even on Thanksgiving. And unfortunately, it's not that many fans will do that over Thanksgiving break. Yep. So you want to have the venue to cater to their needs. Mm-hmm. So that's the first one for me. The second, like you said, the format. I don't mind a soccer-style group stage format existing in a college basketball tournament. However, the most important thing is winning games. And when you have a format that allows your team to go undefeated in, I'm not going to call this a group stage, in like the league stage, and then not advance to the next round, there's something.
If you're going to do a full group stage, you need to play every team in your group and then advance the best team from the group.
Yeah. If we're, let's take the NBA Cup, for example, right? Everyone's split into like 5-team groups. I don't know if you're a fan of the NBA Cup. I've kind of become one in the
courts
last
suck.
Couple of years. The courts are ugly.
DFL.
The format and the competition is good. But, everyone's split into 5-team groups. And if you win all your games, if you win all 4 of your games, you are going to the next round. It's pretty much out of the question, right? The point differential comes in for those teams that go maybe 3-1 or 2-2, and then they need to fill in one last wild card spot. So, you might be sweating a point differential if you didn't do your job and win all your games. But I'm looking at the Players Era standings right now. Tennessee, Kansas, Iowa State all did exactly what they were supposed to do. They won both their games. And Tennessee and Kansas State were effectively rewarded with just a third place game. So that just feels wrong.
Yep.
Right. Especially in college basketball, like you said, there's no garbage time goals in soccer. There is a lot of, depending on, the game, the matchup, there could be a lot of garbage time in a college basketball game.
Yep.
So it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But I wanted to take some time to admit that this is not going away, right? We can complain, we can critique, we can talk about what's better, what's worse for, till the end of time. But these teams and these companies are still going to push through these tournaments. So I thought it'd be nice to take some time to, maybe create a little bit of a better format.
Yeah, make it better. I want the sport to be as good as possible. So if you want to get involved in the sport, make a good event, and I won't complain. Like at this point, that's all I care about.
And at the same time, like the grand goal of the Players Era Festival, being a tournament that provides NIL opportunities in the middle of the season for players, I think is pretty great. I mean,
it's fine.
I understand that, the finances of college basketball are pretty controversial right now. It's kind of the Wild West. We're still trying to figure a lot of things out. But at the same time, like, I really don't mind players playing in a tournament for, some cash in the middle of the season.
Make the game exciting, and then I'm in. And if the game sucks, then I'm out. That's it.
All right, let me pitch you my new revised Players Era Festival.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's actually going to be 4 festivals.
Oh, God.
And it's based on the idea that Maui and the Battle for Atlantis have really just perfected the mid-season MTE. For those of you who follow House of College Hoops, you know that we posted our Battle for Atlantis and Maui Invitational brackets, and there's just something about them that I really love, the way that they're kind of, it's essentially a double elimination tournament where you've got the one bracket going the one way, and then you've got the consolation bracket going the other way. 32 teams is way too much for a midseason tournament. It's not too much, though, for 4 8-team tournaments scattered across the country. So let's say you put a Players Era Festival in the Northeast, Players Era Festival Southeast, Players Era Festival Midwest, Players Era Festival Southwest. I think this solves the problem where, you have in each of those 8-team tournaments, you invite teams mainly concentrated in that area. So as much as I love seeing St. John's take on Iowa State, we don't really need that. We could have St. John's take on maybe, Maryland, concentrate Notre Dame, Rutgers in that same area. High quality games, keeping teams out of playing each other within the conference, but keeping it so fans don't have.
Question. How do you do that? Because of the 4 teams you mentioned, Rutgers and Maryland are in the same conference.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could have them. See, this is why I needed you on here to work this out with me. I just, I feel like part of it, another reason why this Vegas tournament didn't work is I don't really think if you want to fill an NBA level arena full of St. John's fans around Thanksgiving, you don't have a tournament in Vegas.
Yeah.
Right. You have it maybe at the Prudential Center. You have it maybe at the Garden. I know they're probably busy around this time of year. But at the same time, like, I think you just need to do something a little bit closer. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm just taking a look at, the 18 teams that we're seeing in this year's tournament. So I think you would break them up based on, you wouldn't have teams in the same conference potentially meeting up with each other. But then you have 4 18 tournaments going around the country. They don't meet. The 4 winners of each tournament do not meet. They each have their own separate prize pools. Let's say it's $1 million per winner of each tournament. And then that gives you the Players Era. It gives you the chance to have 4 champions throughout the season, kind of carrying your branding, carrying the name of your festival. And then you see how those teams end up doing later on in the NCAA tournament. And then you can use that as marketing for future Players Era festivals, say, hey, our Players Era Southeast team went to the Sweet 16. Our Players Era Midwest team went all the way to the Final Four. Our Players Era Northeast team were the national champions. You know what I mean? It's like spreading out this, purported excellence that you're trying to establish with this tournament, instead of just, concentrating it into 3 haphazardly formatted games in Las Vegas on Thanksgiving break.
I think that would get confusing for the average fan. If there's a players era, Southeast, Northwest, like that would get wordsy, and it would just be like, you would just kind of tune it out at that point. Versus like there's one Maui, there's one Atlanta. So yeah, there's 7 players era. Did you win the players era Pacific Northwest? No, we got second in the players era, actually Southeast. Rats. We came so close to winning the players era Arkansas. But unfortunately, that damn Little Rock team, they got us. Oh, by God, they got us. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to fix the players era. I just know it's bad.
Yeah. It's tough because it's something I want to see succeed in, that I want there to be a tournament for NIL opportunities, but I just, I guess it's just really not working.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some of the games from the players era tournament, specifically Michigan's 101-61 win over Gonzaga. At the time, Michigan was the 7th best team in the country. Gonzaga was number 12 via the AP rankings, and they torched the Bulldogs. What stood out for you in this win for the Wolverines?
Yeah, full disclosure in this one, I bet Gonzaga going into this game. I like Gonzaga quite a bit, actually. I thought Gonzaga was I didn't think they were gonna kill them, but like I thought Gonzaga was the better team coming into this game, and they got down big, and it's like, okay, I still think they can come back. Like Gonzaga just missed a whole bunch of shots they normally make. Michigan made some that I thought were kind of crazy, and then at one point, balls at like the half court line, like the edge of the half court logo, and Elliot Cadeau shooting it, and I'm like, okay, all right, whatever, we're good. And then that goes in, and it's like, okay, that's the telltale sign of like it's their day. If Elliot Cadeau is shooting from half court, it's just their day. You throw your hands up, you're like, all right, well, it's their day. They won it, but no, Michigan's been awesome. Early in the season, they hadn't figured out that big lineup with Yaxel, Merez Johnson, and Ade Mara. It seems like they kind of have now. They definitely still have some work to do with it, and I'm still worried how it fits in a tournament setting in the NCAA tournament when guards mean like everything is kind of what we've learned over the years. Even last year, Walter Clayton was the best player, and that was kind of the sole reason Florida won. It was because of Walter Clayton. That's why they beat that Auburn team. It was just kind of defined in the front court. It's just kind of what it felt like. But man, they looked awesome. Like that lineup, they were big. They out-physicaled a very physical front court. Cadeau hit some shots. Burnett hit some shots. McKinney was creating on his own. Like it was a dominant performance from Gonzaga. Like they were truly dominant. I mean, from Michigan, truly dominant. They hit shots. Like they shot a ridiculous percentage from 3. Elliot Cadeau somehow hit a couple, which means hell is frozen over. Yeah, the physicality in the front court to me was the standout. They figured out that big lineup. They looked excellent.
Yeah, and not to mention that this win over Gonzaga was following up a 30-point win over Auburn and a 40-point win over San Diego State. What has allowed this Michigan team just to be just such a wagon?
It's the front court. I mean, it's that dominant, like that. If they're able to play with not 3 bigs necessarily, but like 3 bigs, bro, 3 guys who can play the big, and you can't guard it. And the fact that Yaxel, I mean, he's a legitimate NBA prospect and he can move around on the perimeter. Merez Johnson is just fucking tank, and Ade Mara is super skilled as well. Like that lineup is there's not another team in the country that can match it. Just you can't. So you have to find a way to game plan around it and play to your strengths because they're going to get whatever they want. Like the lineup they're running out there is just dominant. Like so long, athletic. Yaxel's shooting 40% from 3 this year to go with everything else he gives you, which is literally everything else on the basketball court. Merez Johnson's been dominant, particularly on the glass. He's excellent. Cadeau, great facilitator. Mara's doing a bit of everything as well. Like, it's just the size that they have. You physically can't match it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking at their schedule right now. So their last game was that Gonzaga game. They've been on a pretty long break. They returned to action Saturday against Rutgers. They finish out their December, kind of dipping their toes into conference play. They got Rutgers on the 6th. Then they go out of conference with Villanova, back against Maryland, and then LaSalle, McNeese before they get into their, full Big Ten slate. But for you, could we see them be undefeated with 20-plus point victories all the way through to January 2nd?
I think Villanova and Maryland play them competitively. Yeah. Villanova's been pretty good to me this year. I actually think that's a game Duke Brennan's going to just look out of place, but I think the guards of Villanova, they'll game plan well enough. I think they'll keep it competitive-ish. TCU also, keep in mind, in November 14th, they played him to a 4-point game, and then Wake Forest took him to overtime as well.
Yeah.
Granted, that's when they were still figuring out their lineups, and that TCU team they look pretty good this year. And then Maryland, I think they're just going to get healthier, and when they're healthier, I think they're going to be better. That was Solomon Washington played his first game. He's going to be a huge piece for them. He didn't play a ton, but he's getting more comfortable, right? They don't have to just rely on their guards. Pharrell Payne is healthy again. Miles Rice is getting healthy. They were just not nearly as healthy as they need to be. They have 3 guys that matter on their team, and all 3 of those guys have missed time due to injury. That's bad. I think they're going to be healthier. I think they'll just play him scrappy. So I don't think they'll win those games by 20 plus. That Maryland game, if Ken Pom has that 15, that seems like a spot I'll lose a bet on Maryland.
Absolutely. So yeah, very interesting to see what Michigan does right now. They are number 1 in the net. They are number 1 in Ken Pom, and they have a very, very interesting Big Ten slate ahead of them. Going into this week, the big set of games that we saw nationally was the ACC SEC Challenge. I thought this was very interesting, especially after night 1 of this 2-night event. Obviously, last year, the SEC smoked the ACC in this event, winning 14 games out of a possible 16 games. But in night 1 of this year's challenge, the ACC got off to a 6-3 lead over the SEC, including big wins, 67-66 with Duke over Florida, 67-64 North Carolina over Kentucky. There was a huge win, 62-60 of Syracuse over number 13 Tennessee. But on night 2, the SEC came back and they ended up winning this event 9-7 for their second consecutive victory. And the ACC in 3 years of this event going on has yet to finish with an advantage over the SEC. This might be narrative seeking. This might be a little bit dramatic, but obviously the SEC over the last couple of years has looked to become the conference in college basketball and college football. They've looked to dominate in everything they do. They want to take over the college football playoff. They want to guarantee the most amount of bids for themselves. What does this say for the SEC trying to be the premier college basketball conference, which the ACC has tried to hold on to that title for decades now, winning this event 2 years in a row over the ACC?
I mean, the SEC last year was dominant, super dominant, probably maybe the best conference we've seen in ever. Not ever. Some of the old Big East years were
better. The Pat Ewing Big East is tough.
The Big East was better, but in most recent history, I would say since realignment, the big realignment, obviously, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it says anything on a long term scale. I just because I think they got some formative, good matchups, I guess would be the word I would use, and they were able to take advantage of that. But in terms of what the Mississippi State, Georgia Tech, I don't think says anything about the grand scale of college basketball, that if that game flipped, you're at a tie. I don't respectfully to those two programs, I don't think that says anything.
Absolutely.
So, I don't think it says anything about the SEC's overall dominance, but I think there are definitely some teams that I came away with these games very impressed with. And yeah, I would say that, but one team that has just been impressive all season, and even including this event, this Vanderbilt team's a wagon, Sam. They're so good.
Yeah. Tell me about them. What did you like out of this Vanderbilt team?
Yeah. Offensively, they're just dynamite. They run such good offense. They don't miss shots and they don't turn the ball over, which is a very good combination if you want to be a very good offensive team. I would say those are the 2 things you should do. Make shots and don't turn the ball over. Great analysis, DeRosa. But man, they're just so good everywhere. I worry with them, and this is a weird thing to be worried about at this point, but they just seem like a team that it's going to have peaked in December. This feels like their peak to me, but they look excellent. Duke Miles is playing like a freaking superstar. Tyler Tanner is a guy Josh and I have raved about, and he is playing definitely better than. I mean, I haven't talked to him about Tyler Tanner yet this year, so we'll see what both of us think then on probably the next ECB show, but he must be playing better than both of us expected, and we did not have our expectations low for that kid. He is awesome. Okereke, McLaughlin, Nickel, they're all hitting shots at a ridiculous clip. Nickel shooting 46% from three at this point. McLaughlin's just such a good glue guy for them. Okereke, same thing. Everyone on the team is efficient. Jalen Washington, coming over from North Carolina, has just been very solid for what he's doing. He's blocking shots, he's getting rebounds, and he's converting around the rim. That is all you could ask of him. Same with McLaughlin. This team, they just know their roles. They're defined in it, and they're playing really good basketball. And they have a guy who is playing like a legitimate superstar in Duke Miles. They go deep in a bench. At this point, they have everything. My worry with them is going to be how they perform against legitimate size. Like St. Mary's is the only team I think they've played that has legitimate size in the front court, and St. Mary's is really unathletic. So when they go against athleticism combined with size, that's going to be where I ask questions with them. But Sam, this team's a freaking wagon. They're a wagon.
What point in the season do you feel like would you say, all right, now I'm ready to say this Vanderbilt team is legit? This is not a team that's peaking in the non-conference. I think
no matter what,
circle. Yeah. Sorry, what?
No matter what, I'm going to say they're legit. Like they're a legit team. It's just in terms of like, are they going to be like they're playing like a 2 seed right now? Are they going to be that?
They got Alabama on January 7th. That's kind of the game that I would circle. Right now, Ken Palm's got that a 5-point victory for Vanderbilt. Is that realistic, or is there maybe a losing margin against Alabama that you're like, all right, these guys can handle themselves all the way through to the end of the season?
I mean, if the line is 5, I'd probably take Alabama. But like, yeah, I mean, if they go through like even through the Florida game and just are like legitimately competitive and not competitive, but like legitimately like there in every of those games, like even just looking at their schedule, they play Central Arkansas next, so they should win that one. But after that, at Memphis, at Wake, those aren't like easy. Like
no.
Memphis is talent. Maybe not cohesive talent, but they have talent. And that Wake team has looked pretty good. They took Michigan overtime, who we just talked about a couple minutes ago, was a complete wagon. So if they look through those games and look dominant, I'm just going to be at that point where it's like, okay, this team is just awesome, like just legitimately awesome. And this would be maybe the best rebuild we've seen in the last since Otzelberger at Iowa State, and maybe before that, which has been the best rebuild we've seen since realignment.
Yeah, absolutely. So very interesting for Vanderbilt. And then kind of circling back to what you said about this, despite the SEC winning this challenge, it's not really much of a statement, not really much of them taking the permanent crown. I think a good point for your case there is that when we're looking at ranked versus ranked matchups in this event, the ACC actually went 2-1. And both of those came with Duke's win over Florida and North Carolina's win over Kentucky. Yep. That Duke game, man, that was crazy until the very end. Duke got a really crucial stop on the final play. Cam Boozer, again, just
stellar.
Honestly, I have not had more fun watching a player than Cam Boozer in a long time. I am really loving how this guy's developing. 29 points against Florida, 10 for 21, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. How did Duke beat out the reigning national champs?
Yeah, defensively, they're just so long and athletic. Like that's they just really smothered these Florida guards. Like Boogie Flynn was able to get in the lane and make plays. He was solid. I mean, 4 turnovers, 0 assists. So like they really just kind of forced these guys to isolate. And Condon made plays, Hall made plays. Like those 2 guys were awesome. But really, other than that, they took like these guards out of the game. Like Flynn was good. Chinielu, I mean, he didn't do anything. Xavier Lee did less than nothing. Klavsar did less than nothing. Like these guards were just completely taken out of the game. It was entirely on Florida's front court, and Hall and Condon combined for 36 points. There were 66. So those 2 played well. But yeah, just the defense. It's so long and suffocating. And then they have a star on the other end of Cam Boozer. Combine those 2, you're sitting pretty. And Boozer, you mentioned, he is so good. This freshman class is awesome. And he's one of those 3 guys, just so good at every aspect of the game. He's a guy, I truly think his best trait, it isn't anything, it's kind of intrinsic. He's just a natural winner. He just makes winning plays on top of also being the most talented guy on the floor. But the fact is he's just a winner in his core. And I fully respect that. And he is a stud, like just so good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other big ranked matchup that night, North Carolina, 3-point win over Kentucky. This one in Lexington. I know, I always see the tweets from the ECB account. I can tell when they're coming from Josh because, there's
It's never me.
Natural frustrations with how this Kentucky team is developing. I watched the press conference of Coach Pope after the Champions Classic. It seemed like, they're really still trying to figure out their identity. They're still trying to figure out how to play with each other. At what point they're sitting at 5-3. At what point do the alarm bells kind of sound with this Kentucky team?
They sounded after this game,
Yeah.
in my mind. They need to get Lowe and JQ back immediately, especially Lowe. You need those guys. They need them back immediately. Otherwise, they're just legitimately not good. Their next game is against Gonzaga. That's going to be a tough one, especially if EK went down with an injury late in the Alabama game, late in one of the more recent games that Gonzaga played. And then it's been on and off, and he just didn't look the same after that. So if he doesn't play, then I think Kentucky should probably be okay. But if they lose this game, let's just say they end up losing this game. In their non-conference, they have lost to Louisville, Michigan State, North Carolina. Their best win at this point is Valparaiso, 193 in Ken Palm. They then play Indiana at home and St. John's in Atlanta, which will be a very Kentucky pro crowd. But even if you just win one of those games, that doesn't do much for you. Indiana's not impressive at all. So you win that. St. John's also hasn't been very impressive this year. If you lose that, you win those two, you're okay, you're fine. But that's not where you want to be if you're freaking Kentucky and you spent $9 gazillion on this roster. So the panic is starting now. It will definitely ease back once Lowe and JQ get back if they're any good. But if they're even at this point, fans are panicking, and I see why. They don't have anyone to create.
Yeah.
Always playing on the ball, and he's not natural on the ball. They look bad. This offense is not working right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, you mentioned St. John's just because, I'm a New York guy. I watch a lot of St. John's. I do want to ask if Kentucky beats St. John's, not even talking about the game that they got coming up this Saturday against Mississippi, but say they win against Mississippi like they're projected to by Ken Palm. They lose to Kentucky. That's their third loss of the season against an SEC squad. And then they got the loss to Iowa State. For you, where is St. John's struggling, like Kentucky, against some of these other high major programs?
Yeah, team cohesion is bad. Their defense is legitimately awful. They're giving up a ton of points. In their 3 losses, they gave up 103 to Alabama, 83 to Iowa State in 69 possessions. Bad. And then 85 to Auburn on 67 possessions. Bad. Their defense has been legitimately bad this year. They're giving up a ton of rebounds, which is stunning considering you have a front court of Zuby and Dylan Mitchell.
Yep.
They're not on the same page. They're not connected whatsoever. These guys don't seem to really get along with each other, which is kind of the pushback on going with 18 different transfers and running Sim Wilcher and RJ Lewis out of town for whatever reason they chose to. These guys aren't connected. They're not playing as a team. Ozai Sailors has been excellent for them this year. Zuby's been awesome. Hopkins has been fine. Jackson's been meh. Mitchell's been good. Sanan has been exactly who I thought he was. And even that's even with his jump shot falling at a better clip than it's going to for the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not connected. Their defense is just legitimately bad. Teams are scoring at them on them inside. They're getting out athleted. They're getting out toughed. And I'm pretty surprised by that. But this roster was also not built. People overrated the defense on this roster just because it was Rick Pitino.
Yeah.
Hopkins was an okay defender. Sellers was meh. Sanan's a legitimately bad defender. Darling's a legitimately bad defender. Jackson's a legitimately bad defender. That it wasn't built with defense in mind. It was built with shooting in mind. And their shooting is okay. It's fine. And they don't play any defense. So look, they're still going to out-talent a whole bunch of teams. They're still fine in the Big East because the Big East kind of sucks. But, I'm not high on this roster. I feel like my preseason take on them is proving correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And then wrapping up the ACC SEC Men's Challenge, Syracuse on night 1 took down Tennessee. They played them down to the wire. They took a lead by 2 at half. And then it was pretty neck and neck the entire time. Just an incredible defensive performance from Syracuse, though. 8 blocks. they limited Tennessee to pretty much scoring in the paint. They did not give them anything. 4 for 13 from beyond the arc. How were the Orange able to, stretch out this win? And did you see glimpses of it? Were you not surprised after what they did at the Players Era Festival to see them get a win like this?
No, I wasn't stunned. Like they came in, it felt like a 50-50 game. I was more so stunned by the fact that Tennessee beat Houston and then lost to Kansas without Darren Peterson. And Kansas has looked pretty good without Darren Peterson, but still. But yeah, I wasn't stunned. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to say nice things about Syracuse, so I'm probably not going to do that too much, especially because they got their doors blown off them by Iowa State.
Yeah.
But this roster is legitimately very talented. Nate Kings is playing very well. Nate George was awesome at Georgia Tech. William Kyle was a guy everybody wanted on the portal last year. JJ Starling's a beast. Steve White, 5-star freshman. Keon Anthony, highly touted 4-star. Tyler Betsy, highly touted 4-star. Like, they have a ton of talent on this roster. Like, and this is without, I think the most impressive part of this is without Donnie Freeman, who in a very realistic world is a guy who's being picked inside the top 20 in the draft this summer.
Yep.
Mostly because of potential and who he was as a high school recruit more than his college production. But like, even so, he's a guy that's probably going to be picked very highly in probably underwhelm an NBA team, but that's beside the point. They did it without their probably most raw talented player. So I thought that was the most impressive part to me. The defense looked good. Tennessee's offense looks like there probably could be some problems there, especially because Nate Ament was bad in this game. Like 2 of 10, 11 points. 7 turnovers. Like, he was legitimately bad. And they didn't have, like, when he was off, Gillespie was fine, but they did not have another option. It was Jalen Carey down low, and he got his. But, like, I felt like Syracuse was kind of like okay if Jalen Carey beat them. Yeah, I thought this was a very balanced performance from Syracuse. Kings was awesome. George was actually very good in this game, but, like, he kind of did what he needed to. Kyle had 6 blocks. Just looked like a straight pogo stick out there, which was all they needed. And Sadiq White made some huge plays, particularly defensively. He was a monster. 9 rebounds, 3 steals. Monster. Not too surprised by this. The Syracuse team has a ton of talent, and they're going to play some of these games. And then you're going to be like, oh, man, the Syracuse team is really good after I don't know, let's throw a team out there. I don't know, they beat Miami in like dominant fashion. You're like, man, the Syracuse team is good. And then they're going to play their next game against Notre Dame and lose by 30. Just because they're a horribly coached team, but they're very talented.
Yeah, there's always, I feel like, in every conference tournament, not just the ACC, but just in every conference in general, like Syracuse feels like that one team that's like in the semifinals on, Friday or Saturday. Like, oh, how'd they get there?
When you're looking at it, like, man, they really could be a bid stealer, and like you start to like believe it, and then they lose by 60.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when Blake Bortles was in that graphic of all the guys at the Super Bowl. Yeah. Then it's like happy to be there, but I don't know. But hey, maybe they prove us wrong, and then they can laugh at us.
They're very talented. The roster is talented.
Yeah. Wrapping up the SEC ACC challenge and kind of relating it back to talking about the Players Era, it feels like events like the ACC SEC challenge kind of exist in antithesis to something like the Players Era Festival,
it's
right?
Home courts.
It's home courts. It's high quality matchups. There's not really, there's nothing really complicated about the format, right? It's just good games, get to that target score, right? Get to that target 9 games and see, how you stack up against high quality opponents. So for you, I mean, we've seen stuff in the past, like, the Big East, Big 12 Challenge, the Gavitt games. I think there was another one. There was like the Big 10. There was like a Big 10 ACC challenge a while back.
Big 10 SEC, I think?
Yeah, something like that. But for you, do you want to see more of these in the future? Yeah. Are there any other conference pairings, that people might not expect that you feel like could provide another great challenge?
Big East, ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big East, Big 10, Gavitt games again, all of it. All of it. I want to see all of it. I want to see as many good games as possible. So, yes, I'm in.
If I could shout out my folks at A10 Talk, obviously I'm an A10 guy. Mm-hmm. I feel like one that we've thrown around for years, because I would love to see this expand to mid-majors as well, because, I mean, it's getting harder and harder to schedule games as a mid-major. Mm-hmm. Something like an A10 Mountain West Challenge. maybe an NEC America East Challenge. Like I feel like these schools gotta, really get involved in trying to, you know, build these coalitions. So I think it'd be really fun. And this ACC SEC challenge this year really proved to be a great template. But for
make some highly respected team have to play George Mason in December. That team deserves to be tested every year, and they're going to be up for the test every single time because Tony Skin's sharper than a steak knife.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, people have talked about for years bringing back something like Bracket Busters in February. I just don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't either, but it'd be fun.
Yeah, it's a little too complicated. And I think schools are a little too protective of their standings at that point in February to want to do that. But yeah, I mean, again, and like I said, in me trying to work out a fix of the players era, I mean, there should be more George Masons that are invited to events like this. Those guys would definitely play their asses off for a chance at $1 million, right?
No, they would. Oh my goodness, yeah. If you aren't bringing if that St. John's team is going to be walking up the floor like they were at the end of the Auburn game, you're not beating the Tony Skin team doing that. That team will be all over the floor. They will dive on the floor for every single loose ball. They'll eat every single one.
Yeah, absolutely. So going into this weekend, what are some other matchups that you are really looking forward to? I got one or two, but I'd love to see what you say.
You go first. I want to pull up the schedule in front of me. You go first. Let me look at this.
Well, the two obvious ones, the Music City Madness, Gonzaga versus Kentucky on Friday night at 7. Then we're swinging over to Saturday, late night game, 10 o'clock Eastern tip. Number 20 Auburn going over to number 2 Arizona. Arizona has looked really good. We haven't talked about them. They haven't fit really into, any of the stuff that we were talking about earlier. But anything you like out of this Wildcats roster?
Yeah, Koa Pete's amazing. Koa Pete and Jaden Bradley, that's as good a 1-2 punch as you're going to find anywhere in the country. Just both ends, both very good defensively as well. I think that kind of gets underappreciated when we talk about this stuff. Both are elite defenders, and both can really score the ball, particularly inside. Not a great jump shooting team, but other than that, yeah, those two are awesome.
You know who's a guy I love watching on Arizona just because I read his name so many times when he was at Campbell. Anthony DeLorso.
Yeah.
Shout out our boy Trevor Everett, our Campbell hoops aficionado. Covering him before he made the jump over to the Big 12. But those are my two games. What else are you watching this weekend?
Yeah, so I'm obviously going to be watching Boise State Butler and then Georgetown traveling to UNC on Sunday. But the games that really stand out to me, 2 noon tips. Iowa State Purdue, that's going to be fun. Like seeing hopefully Taman Lipsey's back. Taman Lipsey going up against Braden Smith full court, that's going to be as good a point guard. That's the best offensive point guard in the country versus the best defensive point guard in the country. That would be awesome. And just seeing Josh Jefferson versus TKR as well. Awesome. That's theater. And then Duke Michigan State's going to be awesome. And even just a game where the teams aren't good. I'd be stunned if either of these teams made the tournament at this point. But the crosstown shootout always has juice. It always does. So that's Friday. And then TCU is a team I'm really interested by. And Notre Dame's a team I think I'm higher on than just about everybody else. So those two teams going against each other as well. That's kind of my sleeper game of the week. It's tomorrow night. It's TCU, Notre Dame. I'm going to be locked in on that one. That defense on TCU is freaking awesome. And they're playing a team that is just surgical offensively. I'm really interested to see how that one goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, a Purdue win over Iowa State. Hypothetically, that's tough for Michigan because I feel like they're really trying to chase that number 1 spot in the AP rankings. But if Purdue does it, if Purdue takes down Iowa State, I feel like, you got to keep them at number 1. Could we see Michigan get that number 1 spot on the AP rankings by, the end of the month?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If Purdue loses this game, what? Like, who jumps to 1?
They slide right in.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. All right, man. I love it. Any closing thoughts on, what we've seen so far in November?
Yeah, I want to call it a shot. Now, granted, I think I'm calling this partially because I watched them absolutely dismantle Georgetown for as long as I had that game on for. I think this Miami team is legitimately very good. Are they a good jump shooting team? not in the slightest, but they're super defensive minded. They're really physical. Renault is playing the best basketball he's played of his career. True Washington's probably the best defensive guard in the country, and he's shooting it well from three this year. I think that's going to fall off a bit, but I think this Miami team is legitimately very good, and I want to get that on the record as maybe the first person to say it. I think they're not only just a tournament team, I think they're a team that's going to be a top 8 or 9 seed in the tournament. I think they're going to be in that, like, I think they could get as high as like a 5 or 6 seed. I think they're legitimately very good.
Yeah, that's huge for Miami, considering they got a new coach.
Jai Lucas, I mean, that he has that defense working. He was the defensive guru at Duke. So I shouldn't be surprised that his defense is as good as it is right now, but it's very good. And I want to give him a shout out.
Absolutely. Another threat out of the ACC. So, DeRosa, as we finish up, where could our listeners and our viewers find your stuff?
Yes, MD the Dream on Twitter. That is my name. Basketball is not my game because I'm not very talented and I'm like 5'2".
So our podcasting, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Road to the Garden. We'll be talking all sorts of Big East stuff, everything college basketball, whenever we can get around to another shows. Very excited to do any of those. MD the Dream on Twitter, doing whatever the hell, talking basketball. Maybe even releasing some mini Twitter clip type stuff. Whatever the hell I decide to do. Just you'll see my face eventually somewhere. And you'll be like, wow, I remember listening to that guy. And that'll be me.
Yeah, exactly. It's DeRosa's world, and you're just watching basketball in it. But for more work from Michael DeRosa, the Road to the Garden crew, and many more, make sure you head over to house-enterprise.com for our blog. Make sure you follow us on the socials. If you're watching, you're going to see them on the ticker below or the ticker up top if you're watching in portrait mode. If you're listening, you will find all those linked in the description of this video. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up. We've got our polls every week, our Big East power rankings every week that, have been a little controversial this season.
Yeah, I got yelled at a couple times. Thanks, Basel.
Yeah, but we're still pumping them out no matter what. Ohm Brown, if you're still watching, the baseball offseason, Ohm Brown's got a great coverage of the Red Sox offseason up to this point. We've still got college football. The college football playoff is going to announce their final bracket this Sunday, so the football house is going to be ready for you guys. And overall, just make sure you follow House Enterprise at the socials you see below. So for Michael DeRosa, I'm Sam Basel. This has been the Basel Pod, and we'll see you guys next time.